Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start with a story that unfolded in a workplace parking lot where a snowbank posed a challenge to one employee's parking skills. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Send an email to the whole company trying to get me in trouble? Okay. One day, the edge of a snowbank was covering one small corner of a parking lot at my work. Basically, anyone who wanted to use this parking space would either need to park with one tire on top of the edge of a snowbank or just don't pull quite as far into the parking space. On this fateful day, one of my fellow employees, let's call him George, decided to use this parking space, except he avoided the snowbank by parking his truck over the line, invading the adjacent space. I'm not sure about George's thought process here. Maybe he expected all the rest of the cars in the lot to offset their parking jobs accordingly. Big surprise, that didn't happen. The next adjacent parking space that was not inhabited by a quarter of a pickup was taken up by a perfectly parked Tahoe. All that remained was 3/4 of a parking space with George's Chevy pickup on one side and an innocent Tahoe on the other. Enter me. I show up for work at about 8 a.m. to find that there's only one available parking space in this lot. There were spaces available in a nearby lot a few yards away, but I saw the space and thought, I'm pretty sure I can fit in there. At this point, I had no idea who owned these vehicles, but I noticed that the Tahoe on the right was perfectly parked, and I didn't want to give that person a hard time accessing their vehicle, since they did nothing wrong. So I took my little Cavalier sedan and parked it extremely close to the pickup. I parked so close that I had to crawl out of the passenger side of my car. My biggest hope and dream in this situation was to leave the office at around 5:30 p.m., find that the pickup had gone, and rest in the knowledge that the driver had trouble getting into their truck. What lied in store for me was much juicier. At about 9 a.m., I was at my desk, having almost completely forgotten about my parking situation. I was working on a couple of projects, so I hadn't checked my email in the past few minutes. One of my coworkers, Laura, walks into my cubicle, sits on my desk, leans in and whispers, "Is that your car in the email?" "What email?" I said, confused. She said, "Check your email." And she looked over my shoulder as I opened an email from George. It was addressed to every employee in the building, and it said, "Is this how we treat coworkers? Shame on you," with a photo attached. I opened the photo, and it's a picture of my car and George's truck. The vehicles are parked very close together. The driver's sides of both vehicles are blocked, and George's truck is parked over the line. I turned around in my chair, looked Laura in the eye, and said confidently, "Yes, it is," as I leaned back and folded my arms with the cheesiest grin on my face. This email, having been sent to every employee in the building, naturally caused quite a stir. I imagine George's objective here was to get this photo to people who recognize my vehicle and hopefully get me in trouble for blocking him in. Instead, there were two main schools of thought when it came to reacting to George's email. Number one, people who did not know the owners of either vehicle. These people saw the email from George, took one look at the photo and thought, "Oh, poor George in his little Cavalier sedan. What a bully that pickup driver is for blocking him in like that." Number two, people who did not know the owners of one or more of the vehicles. The only way these people could react to the situation was with utter confusion. Someone must have blocked George's truck. Wait, is George parked over the line? What? Oh no, someone blocked Banjo's car. Why does George care so much, though? This whole time, I was simply beaming. I could not have hoped for a better outcome. Not only did I get to witness George's reaction to my parking escapade, but everyone got to see a photo of George and my vehicles attached to a confusingly accusatory email from George himself. Epilogue. I found out that afternoon that George had a bit of a talking to from his boss. Then George had to send out an apology email to everyone for reacting inappropriately. Later that afternoon, we all got an email from the director of operations to notify us that they will be having the parking lot snowbanks cleared. Why would George be so stupid to send everyone a picture that shows them that he parked on top of the lane divider? I don't understand some people's thought processes. And our second story. I didn't let my brother's mistress live in my house. cast: my brother, 51-year-old male, his mistress, 47-year-old female, niece, 1-year-old. Backstory: my brother had an affair on his wife. They have 5 kids. After quitting his job, they moved in with his in-laws. My brother's mistress got pregnant. She decided to quit her job. She was evicted from her previous rental, leaving my niece homeless. My brother's wife decided to try and work things out. I ended having a lot of family pressure to allow my brother's mistress and my niece to move into my rental to try and create a stable environment for my niece. Eventually, I agreed to allow them to move in with a couple of conditions. 1, pay $500 each month. Most of it goes to the cost of the utilities. 2, no dogs. The mistress quickly agreed, since the rent's extremely cheap, and let us know she'll be starting her new job soon. The first month I received half the rent. Then the last 5 months, nothing at all. It's become a burden for me to keep them there. I'm working additional hours to cover the expenses. My brother's mistress never went to work. I've tried and tried to talk to them, trying to work things out. It's going nowhere. I gave his mistress a 30-day notice to move. During that time, I found out she's pregnant with baby number 2. My brother's wife kicked him out, and he moved into my rental with his mistress. They didn't leave after the 30 days. They ignored my attempts to talk to them, so I served a 5-day notice. Still no reply. So I went to the court and filed for an eviction. Since they were served, my phone has not stopped. Just about every family member is called upset. My dad told me to finish it. He feels like my brother needs to man up and take care of his kids, both from his wife and mistress. My dad told me to put my kids first. My mom, however, is livid. She told me that I would be responsible if my niece and the new baby will be taken away from CPS. She said my kids are old enough to understand mommy working extra hours in the name of supporting family. She feels like I should continue working overtime and paying for their expenses until the new baby arrives in 7 months. Update. To answer a couple of questions, yes, she's pregnant. I was there at the ER when the doctor told her. I also found out she wasn't using any birth control. As of right now, the court date is Monday morning. I should find out there if a judge will allow additional time for them to stay. In most cases, it's 72 hours, unless I drop it or allow more time. Last, my husband and I have talked about taking the babies into our home. Just them. It's a major change to our kids. We feel like it's something we need more time to decide. Update number 2. My mom showed up to my house tonight. It's quite the drive. She's been crying. I invited her in to have dinner with me and my kids. After my kids left with my husband trick-or-treating, she tried again to allow my brother to stay. She said with their health, they couldn't allow them to stay in their home. I told her that I feel like I'm enabling my brother to not take responsibility for all his children. I told her I'm tired of working nonstop for someone who's more than capable of working. She left sad. I will see my brother for the first time since he was served tomorrow at court. It'll be interesting for sure. I'm a little heartbroken, but it needs to happen. My hope is the judge doesn't extend the time they have in my rental. I feel like it'll just make things harder. Update number 3. Okay, so I went to court today. My brother and his mistress didn't show up. The judge did a good job. She ruled in my favor. My brother has to be out by Saturday. If he's not, the constable can remove him and his mistress on Monday morning once the courts open up. Everything was going good until my husband asked the judge if we're responsible to notify my brother of the ruling since he was not there. The judge said we could pay for the constable to deliver a copy of the ruling today. I gave the constable all the info, including when both my brother and mistress would be home. After I left the courts, I got a call from my parents, both on the line. I told my mom the constable will deliver the court's ruling to my brother to give them the maximum time to prepare to move. My mom was dead silent. My dad burst into laughter. I was then informed the reason my brother and his mistress did come to court was they had outstanding warrants I knew nothing about. So there's a good chance they'll be arrested today. I can't enter the rental until next Monday. I'll update then. If I'm present when they go to remove my brother and his mistress, I was told today if they're not gone, they'll have 15 minutes to gather whatever before they're removed by the police. So wait, they both quit their jobs and live with you? Without paying you or talking to you? WTF is happening? And our last story. The president of the HOA tried to tow the company car. I live in an HOA of about 20 homes. Currently, 6 are vacant because their owners walked away from them. All 6 are currently in foreclosure. Additionally, there are 4 for sale. Half of the people who live in this association do not wish to live here. Our board is made up of 8 individuals. There's one cool guy on the board who's in charge of maintenance. He stops over for a beer every week and we exchange dirty stories. But the rest of them are retired old folks who nitpick every single little thing. One beautiful afternoon, I had my barbecue grill in my driveway. My wife's car was parked in the street, which apparently was against a new rule that had been established the week prior. The HOA president walked over and asked, "Is the car in the street your wife's?" The rest of the conversation went like this. Me. Nope. President. Does she drive it? Me. Yes. President. It's your wife's car. Me. Nope. You must not listen. President. Tell your wife to move the effing car. Me. She does not own a effing car. Plus, you have to notify the legal owner of the effing car that it needs to be moved before you can levy any fines against the homeowner. Have you notified the legal owner of the effing car? The president of the HOA walked to my front door, knocked, and my wife came to the door. He said, "As the legal owner of that car parked on the street, this is your first and only notification that the car needs to be parked in your driveway or in your garage. You cannot park on the street." Wife. I do not own a car. President. Don't play games with me. Wife. I'm not. I do not own a car. My name is not legally attached to any motor vehicle. President. Then it must be in your husband's name. Wife. No. President. You're playing games with me. I'm going to ticket the car. Sure enough, he ticketed the car. At the next board meeting, I had the fine dismissed because the car was registered by my wife's employer. It was a company car, and they'd not notified the legal owner of the car that they could not park in the street. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.